and welcome to another episode of Historical Channel Presents. Today we will be featuring an author from the 20th century, but as is tradition with this show, we will first tell you information about the images and music you will hear in the background. So, without further ado, let's get the adventure underway. Make sure to pay attention, as there will be a quiz game after the show to test the knowledge that you gain from watching. The first person we are going to talk about is Henry Moore, a famous 20th century sculptor. Moore was born on July 30th, 1898, in the mining town of Castleford, Yorkshire, to Mary and Raymond Spencer Moore. His elementary school teacher encouraged him to become an artist, but he decided to try out to take the teaching profession himself, and became a student teacher in 1915. When Moore was 18, he joined the Civil Service Rifles. According to the archive, joining the army was just like a bigger family to Moore, and he was not traumatized by the minor injuries that he received there. After his war experiences, Moore moved to London in 1921 and received a large scholarship from the Sculpture School of Royal College of Art. In 1925, Moore traveled to Italy to study the works of previous artists, which would prove to be the basis for much of his later art. In 1928, Moore received his first sculpture exhibit in London's Warren Gallery. After this career kickoff, Moore began his tour de force in art galleries, and he also began to gain friendships with many other artists, such as Ben Nicholson, Barbara Hepworth, and Herbert Reed. Moore's art was a combination of surrealism and abstraction, and met much criticism in the 1930s. Because his studio was bombed during the blitzes of World War II, Moore moved from London to his final studio in Perry Green in Hertfordshire. As luck would have it, Moore's growth and fame would not be sparked by his sculptures, but by the drawings he had done of Londoners staying in the shelters during the bombings. With the birth of his daughter, Mary, in 1946, Moore's art began to take a turn to family groups. By the late 1940s, his art was being shown in exhibits around the entire world. His studios began production of hundreds of pieces for many years until his death on August 31st, 1986. According to the Henry Moore Foundation, he had the most international acclaim at his death since the death of his fellow Englishman, Winston Churchill. The music you have heard throughout the program is from a talented 20th century composer named Irving Berlin. Irving, birth name Israel Balin, was born on May 11th, 1888, in Russia. He was the youngest of 6 in his family, which moved to New York City in 1893. Life was hard for his family, and after the death of his father in 1901, Irving went to seek fortune in the city as a street singer, or busker. By 1905, he had secured a job as a singing waiter at Pelham Cafe in Chinatown, where he began to tantalize the audiences with his twisting of popular tunes. Opponents at other cafes attempted to outdo Pelham and published their own songs. Not to be outdone, Pelham had his pianist write the music and Irving write the lyrics to their own song, Mary of Sunny Italy. The song was an instant hit with the cafe crowd, and due to the publishing error, Israel Balin became Irving Berlin, as we know him today. His first major work would be called Alexander's Ragtime Band, and we published in 1911. Despite his success, Berlin had no formal training in the piano or music. To publish his songs, he had help from other musicians, and because he boycotted the white keys on the piano, he had to use a special transposing piano to write songs in other keys. With the advent of World War I, Berlin became a bona fide American citizen in February 1918 and had a brief interlude in the armed forces. According to Hischak, Berlin wrote the musical Yip Yip Yaphank, which featured 300 soldiers in order to raise $83,000 for the armed forces. After the war, Berlin wrote several of his most memorable songs when he courted Ellen Mackay. Mackay's father did not approve of Berlin, so he sent her off to Europe. But Berlin persisted and wrote What'll I Do, Remember, and All Alone before the two were able to elope in 1926. When World War II broke out, Berlin attempted to write a song that glorified peace. The song that he came up with is what many consider to be his magnum opus, God Bless America. Movies with sound were a new phenomenon during this time, and Berlin wrote many pieces for this new medium. One of his most famous is White Christmas. It came out in a movie of the same title in 1946. After this time, his career began to slow down until the 1970s, where Berlin retired from the public eye. Berlin died at the age of 101 on September 22, 1989. Jerome Kern, a fellow songwriter, stated in his biography of Berlin that Irving Berlin has no place in American music. He is American music.